Moving on, chaplains in Australian schools play a really important role. With overstretched teachers and many parents struggling with challenges of their own, it's often the ability of a student to get pastoral care from a school chappie that stops them from slipping through the cracks. And given our society is struggling to deal with the harms of social media, poor mental health, social change and even youth crime, their role has never been more important. So let's bust a couple of myths about chaplains. Even though they're usually Christians, they don't proselytise. They simply provide love and support in a way that reflects those deeply held beliefs. Think of it as a chappie's way of doing their good works in the world, a bit like how a hospital or aged care centre can be run by people of faith but is open to anyone. The other myth is that they're not skilled. In fact, chappies are trained at how to assist at-risk kids and, if necessary, connect them with specialist help. Most are like grandparent or parent figures who are giving something back to a community they love. They do so much on the ground in identifying students who are having a tough time and helping them get the early intervention they need to stop problems from blowing out from small into big ones. And they're largely funded by grateful communities. So you might be surprised to hear that federal Labor have stopped their good work from getting the benefit of tax-deductible donations from that community. To help us understand this, I'm joined by Tim Mander from the Queensland State Opposition, who's not only a senior member of the LNP team, but who also used to lead SU, the Scripture Union. Tim, thank you so much for joining me tonight. What impact do you see chaplains having on the ground in your community?
Oh, Amanda, they have been serving schools in Australia for the last 30 years. They offer a unique dimension of care. They're not counsellors.
Yep.
They're not psychologists. They're not nurses. They are that person that is easy to get access to, that the kids trust.
Yep.
That's not an authority figure. And study after study, in fact, there's been a very recent one by the federal government on the effectiveness of chaplaincy, and there's ringing endorsements. And I know simply by the schools in the electorate that I represent, that schools would not know what to do without their school chaplain.
Now, there is a small amount of federal funding that goes to school chaplains, but it's not enough to cover the cost of that person being there. And 30 June was the last day that a person could give a tax-deductible donation to the SU. What's going on here? Why has it stopped?
Well, that's a very good question, and it's incredibly concerning. As you've mentioned, the federal government, one of the great initiatives of the Howard government was the school chaplaincy program. So chaplaincy was already operating, totally funded by community organisations and individuals, and the Howard government recognised that this is great work that we needed to support. So they brought in the chaplaincy funding program, which is basically $20,000 per school.
Right.
Now that money hasn't increased, unfortunately. We'd love to see more money, but $20,000 doesn't even pay for 2 days.
Yeah.
Most chaplains are at least 3 days, many more 4 and 5 days, so they had to do their own fundraising.
Yep.
It's a crucial part of it. So to be told 3 weeks out from the end of the financial year that tax-deductible status won't continue in the future is a significant blow to school chaplaincy. I am very worried about what impact it will have. I believe that many school chaplains, it'll affect their fundraising ability and therefore affect the number of days that they can be in schools. And there's only one group of people that are going to suffer from that, and that's our kids, particularly our most vulnerable kids.
Yeah, that's really worrying. Has Education Minister Grace gone to bat for the chappies and the important work they do with their federal colleagues?
That's a good question. I mean, in Queensland, we have state Labor government, as we do in most states. I think that they should be on the phone straight away, because I'm not sure. I want to give the feds the benefit of the doubt that they may not understand the impact.
You're good-hearted that way. You're very good-hearted.
The cynic in me says that federal Labor has never really wholeheartedly supported this. They have done it begrudgingly because they know how popular it is.
Yeah.
I can't help thinking that this is very convenient, and in some ways it's undermining chaplaincy by stealth. They can say we're still providing the funding, but we are really cutting their legs from underneath them by taking away this tax-deductible status.
You've been asking some questions of the state Labor people about whether or not they've been putting the screws on the federal team.
Yep.
Have they given you any good answers?
No, they haven't. And I think one of the worrying things about this, Amanda, is that this has sort of come as a surprise.
Yeah.
And again, they may not even know this yet. And so it's my job and others, and I think the people that employ chaplains, to start lobbying both federal and state politicians for them to understand the impact. Once they know how loved chaplains are, and any politician, local representative of any level worth their salt would see the chaplains working in schools, hear the stories, I'd like to think that common sense will prevail. But we've had a fight before with school chaplaincy. We've had high court challenges. And if we don't fight this, I hate to think what the consequences might be.
Finally, what do you see as the risks on the ground from not having these chappies in place to help get that early intervention support for kids struggling with their mental health or social media bullying, exposure to material they shouldn't be, or even the temptation to youth crime?
Well, talk to any school principal and ask them what is their greatest challenge. And it's not curriculum issues, it's not staffing issues, it's the social issues that students face. And the chaplains play a crucial role in providing the support that's required. And if we lessen the number of days that they're in schools, we obviously lessen the support that we provide. And that is the last thing we need in schools right across this country at the moment.
Seems counterproductive as we try and get a hold on a youth crime epidemic here. Thank you so much for your work on the ground to try and turn this around, Tim Mander.
My pleasure.